You know, these are some pretty cool games. Kirby Superstar Ultra, New Super Mario Bros., Pokemon X, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Mario Kart 8, Namco Museum, Pokemon Yellow, Crystal, and the TCG. Then I got my GameCube controller and my Amiibo. They all have something in common. I just can't put my finger on it. Got it. They're all made by Nintendo. Hey guys, Awesome Minecraft here, and welcome back to another Top 5. Today I'm doing my top 5 favorite Nintendo systems, so let's get started. Number 5 is the first Nintendo console I ever had in my house. Ever. No, not the N64, as I don't have one, but the Nintendo Wii. For no explained reason, my dad bought a Wii without telling me or my mom about it, and I loved it. I got into playing lots of Wii Sports, Wii Sports Resort, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, and my favorite game ever to this day, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Now, the Wii doesn't have a huge library of games, but it doesn't need to. These 5 games that I just listed here today are enough to have fun for an entire lifetime. But since we don't have a lifetime to do this video, on to number 4. Number 4 is something that I don't have many games for, but man are they fun. The Game Boy Advance SP. Why not just the original Game Boy Advance? Because closing it, because backlight, because being smaller. It was great that I could have that around, close it, and put it in my pocket, unlike the original, or if it was too bright or dark, the backlight saved me when I couldn't see the game. Also, it could play games for the Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy Advance systems. At the time, it was the best thing since Sonic. Anyways, the few games I have for it are Pokemon's Yellow, Crystal, and the TCG, right here. And they're all for the Game Boy Color. Pokemon Crystal is the second generation of the Pokemon games. Pokemon TCG takes place in a fantasy world where everybody plays the Pokemon TCG and fights for their cards. And Pokemon Yellow is Pokemon Yellow, where a Pikachu follows you around and is your partner for life. And the other game I have for the Game Boy Advance is actually for the Game Boy Advance, Namco Museum, which has a total of 5 games, I think, in it. Pole Position, Dig Dug, Miss Pac-Man, Galaga, and the Galaxian. All in all, I think that the SP is a great system that had no flaws with it, actually, other than being a tiny bit small. But other than that, it's perfect. I love it. But obviously it's not perfect enough to make it onto the 3rd slot, so let's see which one is. Number 3 is a system that started it all. For America, anyways. America! Anyways, from Mario to Mega Man and everything in between, this gave life to those games. This is the NES. I love retro games because they're always fun and challenging. Emphasis on the challenging. The Nintendo Entertainment System, aka the NES, had challenging games to beat, like The Legend of Zelda, its sequel, Zelda 2, Mega Man games 1 through 6, Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, and Punch-Out! It also had easygoing games for it, like Super Mario Bros., Dr. Mario, Yoshi, Kirby's Adventure, and Excitebike. The NES is a fun system with fun games in its library. Also, if you like the games that I listed before this, Duck Hunt, Pac-Man, Metroid, Super Mario Bros. 3, and Kid Icarus are the games for you. Even if you don't have an NES but do have a Wii U, 10 games I mentioned are on the Virtual Console, so buy all the games. Do it now! In my number 2 spot is a system that may come in the number 1 for a lot of you, but my number 2 is the Nintendo 64. The N64 was a great system for its time, revolutionary really, but there were just a few things wrong with it. First off, its controller. Nobody uses the middle stick. And the back button? No one used that either. It also still used cartridges, which the PS1 was already using discs by that time. But aside from those little flaws, the games were great. As I said earlier on in the video, I don't actually own one of these, and I've never actually played a game on there except for Pokemon Snap when my friend always brought one over to the YMCA. But that doesn't really matter, as I have some of the games that I've played some of the games that were ported over to the DS and 3DS systems, such as Super Mario 64 DS, Star Fox 64 3D, and Legend of Zelda The Ocarina of Time 3D. I'll talk about more games a little bit later, but for now let's talk about the good stuff. First, it supported 64-bit graphics and 3D environments. With those 3D environments came the games that put them to use. Now for the games. Pokemon Stadium, Super Mario 64, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Super Smash Bros., Donkey Kong 64, Star Fox 64, Conker's Bad Fur Day Not for Kids, and two of the best games ever made, ever, Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. This being at a time when Rareware was not bought by Microsoft, their games did not suck. Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Donkey Kong 64, and Conker's Bad Fur Day were all made by Rare, and were some of the best games ever to this day. And still, with all these marvels, there's still a game system I like more? Well, not really. There are three. Yes, number one is a three-way tie. Here they are. Alright, so my number one system is a little weird as it is a top three. So, the first of the number one is the one with the best controller. The second is the one that keeps being remade over and over again, so I need to buy each one Nintendo. And the last one is one that you're gonna think I'm crazy for. Or crazy stupid. I don't know. Anyways, here are my top three. And the first one is the Nintendo GameCube. So, just like the N64, I don't actually own one of these, but unlike the N64, I've never actually played a game of this. But it's Minecraft. Why do you have this on your top 5 Nintendo games or systems if you've never played a game or even have the console? Well, that was a really stupid voice, by the way. But, the reason I love this thing so much is because there's so many great games for it, and the controller feels amazing in your hand, and all the buttons are mapped out perfectly. The analog stick, the C stick, the B button, the A button, the X and Y buttons are questionable, but I get it. The D-pad and the start button, all mapped perfectly. And the system is literally a cube that you play games on, so it's a GameCube. It's the perfect name. See, Nintendo just cut out everything in the middle. GameCube. Got it. Perfect. So, they also made some pretty amazing games for it. Like the release title, which was Luigi's Mansion, and the actual full-length Mario title, which was Super Mario Sunshine. The best selling game for the GameCube was Super Smash Bros. Melee, which I've seen at tournaments. Not at tournaments, but I've seen on YouTube. And then there was Super Mario Strikers, the soccer game, which PK Sparks played. I saw that. That was amazing. You should go watch that. And there were so many good games for it, except for a few, like Charlie's Angels, which... Go watch JonTron. Link in the description. And, yeah, this was just one of the best things ever, and I want so many games for it. There are also, like, the games, the Fire Emblem games for this, and all of the games on this are so good. There's so many, too, and it's just amazing how many, like, games are on the GameCube that are actually good. I mean, you compare it to, like, the Virtual Boy, and it didn't have any games at all, but they weren't even good, so it didn't matter. So, this just goes to show the perfect game system, and, I'm kind of rambling on, so let's get on to the second one. And, yeah, there are a lot of them. The second one is the system that has infinitely many possibilities to it until Nintendo runs out of ideas and makes a 4D one. I think you know what I'm talking about, since 1, many iterations, 2, going into 4D. Yes, that's right. Number 2 is the Nintendo 3DS. The reason I love this thing so much is because it plays games from the era before it, which was the regular DS line. Not exactly the Game Boy line. Sorry, Game Boys. Anyways, this thing started development pretty much in the late 70s with the Game & Watch, and then a few years later with the Game Boy, and then the Game Boy Color, and then the Game Boy Advance and SP, and then with the DS Fat, then the DS Lite, DSi, DSi XL, then this one, which I broke while playing Smash Bros. Because of For Glory on Smash Bros. I don't know what I'm doing with this. And then they came out with the 3DS XL, which I don't have, but my friend Benny has it, and he loves that thing to death. And then recently, 5 months ago actually, which is crazy, 5 months ago from yesterday, I think, they came out with the new 3DS XL in America, and before that was the new 3DS regular in Japan, which they still haven't brought over to America. Please do that, Nintendo. I'm begging you. Anyways, so since I broke this, I'm gonna have to get the new 3DS XL for $200. Hopefully I get one soon. Anyways, so this thing is so cool because it can play games from the regular DS line, but also the 3DS line, obviously. So I first got this in like December of 2012 or something, and it's taken so many beatings from me, and it's so sturdy. The button layout is perfect with the A, B, X, and Y buttons, the L and R buttons, the circle pad, the D pad, the start and select buttons, the home button, and the volume tuner. And it's just such a perfect layout. It's almost as good as the GameCube controller. And it's so good, because here are the games that I love for it. Not exactly Skylanders Swap Force. I have that, but it's kind of short. You can beat it within a few hours. But then there's Angry Birds Trilogy, which is so hard to complete. Not just beat, but complete it. And it has Angry Birds Rio, Angry Birds, and Angry Birds Seasons. And then that was the first thing I got for it on Christmas. And then there's, let's see, what else was there? There was Ocarina of Time 3D, which I wanted so badly, and it's so fun. And then there's Star Fox 64 3D, which I've played, but I don't actually have. My friend has it. And then there's Mario Kart 7, good game. Super Smash Bros. For 3DS, awesome game. Broke this thing, can't play it anymore. God dang it. So then, there's so many good games for this that I can't even list off the top of my head, but Fire Emblem Awakening is amazing, and New Super Mario Bros. 2 is really good. So anyways, this thing is amazing. I can't sing its praises enough. Anyways, this is rambling on for a long time. I have to get on to the last one that you are all going to hate me for. Unless you actually have one of these and love it, which I do. That's why it's on my number one. Let's go. The last of my number one on my top 5 Nintendo systems, which is really stupid, I know, is actually something that you're all going to hate me for unless you actually love this thing. And it is the thing that I use to play a lot of games that I love. It also has amazing virtual console. And let's reveal it. Yes, that's right. My number one, really, is the Nintendo Wii U. A lot of people hated this thing because they thought it was going to be too much like the Wii. Actually, it's not. Not at all. It has a gamepad right there. And it's really cool. A few of its games that I love for it are right here. These are all of my games for the Wii U that I have so far. Scribblenauts Unlimited, Sonic Lost World, Scribblenauts Unmasked, Hyrule Warriors, Mario Kart 8, and Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. All these games are super fun. Sonic Lost World is probably the worst of them, but I wouldn't say that it's the worst, it's just the least great. All of these games are so fun, so amazing. And I don't know why everyone hates on the Wii U, just because, for no reason. They hear it's bad, so they're like, I hate it too. I actually love this thing. I actually have one more game that's actually installed onto the Wii U, which is, I've made a review for it, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD. Super fun game, 9.5 out of 10. And all these games are super fun. You should all get them right now. And I also can't sing this thing's praises enough, just because I love it. And all these systems from my number one really just tie with each other on their levels of amazingness. So, let me show you some of the virtual console that I have for the Wii U now. So, I have The Legend of Zelda for the NES, Super Mario World, Super Metroid. I also downloaded these when I got this, so these were for free. The Legend of Zelda Hyrule Historia, and The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD. So, Legend of Zelda for the NES, super hard game to beat just because I've never really played it before. I wasn't born in the era of the NES. I like Super Mario World. It is also nearly impossible for me to beat just because I'm not good at platformers. I'm good at Sonic, not Mario. I don't know why. Don't even ask. And then there's Super Metroid, which I freaking love because it's a great game. It's like the pinnacle of all games, except for Earthbound, which I can't have because I don't know. Anyways, so all these games are super fun. You should go buy a Wii U right now. Do it. Smash Bros, Zelda, Mario, Metroid, other Zelda, other Mario. Yeah, do it. Seriously, all of these game systems are so good. So let's recount everything. Number 5 was the Wii. Number 4 was the Game Boy Advance SP. Number 3 was the NES. Number 2 was the N64. And number 1 was the top 3 number ones of number 1, the Wii U. Number 2, the 3DS. And number 3, the GameCube. Wait, if this was a top 5 Nintendo systems video, then why are there Sega Genesis things? Wait, flashbacks are coming back to me from when I was 4, from when I used my Sega Genesis every single day. Nintendo wasn't my first system. The Sega Genesis was. Maybe I'll have to do a video on my top 5 Sega Genesis games sometime. I don't know. I'll leave it up to the people in the comments. Or maybe I'll just leave it up to myself if no one answers me. Someone answer me, please. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. It took me over a month to make. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.